Hey Phil, how you doing today? So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go over some of the approaches that I would do in Airbrush. Now I'm gonna show you through Krita, and I hope this will be very informative. So the first thing that I would like to do is basically reinforce some of the landmarks. Now, one of the things that we can do is just with our color picker tool here in Krita, we could reinforce this over here. And I'm going to lower the opacity pretty low. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's see, the opacity pretty low. Wrong button. There we go. And I'm just going to very lightly feather this cheek line over here, just like that. Over here. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of darkening, but not darkening these areas here. And we'll do that through a blender mode. But I'll just show you. I don't want to complicate things by giving Krita principles and stuff like that. So you see, what I'm going to do now is reinforce these darks. And basically what I want to do is I want to set up for the next stage, which is pretty major. Also, we want to continue and always be really hard on ourselves as far as angles. You always want to check and make sure the angles are correct. With that being said, let's look at the angle of his lips there. So if we go right here and we'll look and we'll see, hey, that's actually like 2 o'clock exactly, right? So let's go here and let's see in the corner of the eye, and that corner of the mouth, that kind of looks like 3 o'clock. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our color picker. We're going to get that value, and we are going to adjust that to 3 o'clock. See that? Big difference. And you know, those are things that we really want to be hard on ourselves, and it's important because that's going to really just really is going to give you whether your portrait's going to be accurate or not. So it's really, I'm not a person who says be hard on ourselves. I'm hard on myself when it comes to measurements, and always keep checking and never let it go, you know. And like I said, in Airbrush sometimes you might have to live with a measurement and then say, you know, I'm going to cut my losses and fix it next time. But in these early stages, you definitely can fix it. Keep looking for landmarks. And over here, you see it's a very interesting shape over here. Just like that. There we go. So those shapes are very important. Same thing here. Now these aren't just like details. These are sculptural forms, right? So sculptural forms are very important. Remember, we're painting the forest right now, not the trees. Trees will appear, trees will fall into place, but the forest is the structure, the steel girders that pretty much you don't see after the building's up, but without them you would have no building, and that's exactly what we're doing now. So you see right here, this shape here, this value shape, before we didn't have a chin, you know, as far as, you know, where is his head coming forward from his neck, and that's exactly what we are producing right now. So I like this value here, and also we have this larger shape. And when you're going for larger shapes and you want to have gradations, you definitely want to increase your distance of the airbrush from the surface. And just like in Airbrush, I'm just building slowly. This is all going to clean up as we get, further along with the light mixture and then subsequent medium mixture and then dark mixture. So don't worry about things looking perfect as far as surface, your surface texture just yet. But you're paying attention to it. It's on your mind, that sort of thing. This is way too dark. See how this value? See, right now this value may be the right value at the end game, but right now it's all relative values, right? You're darkening from the light to the dark, meaning even your darkest darks are going to be much lighter because we're working with the light mixture. So right here, this is incredibly lighter than what we have it. So I'm going to go ahead and find a lighter value, and I'm just going to calm that down. Now what I'm going to do is going to take the color picker or my blender, little Q-tip here. There's so many little details here. If I got excited, I can be in here for like a half hour. So that's where you want to really refrain from. And let's go ahead and work on, now what I said was going to do something where I'm going to darken this side of his face, but to the point where I'm not going to darken these shapes in here. So let me just set that up. And okay, much darker here in his eye here. So let's see. Same thing here. Let's just, now I'm going to hit the darken button, which will darken things, but won't darken the value that's darker than the one I'm putting. So this is Shift-Alt-G, and Shift-Alt-G is lighten. I want to do Shift-Alt-K. So you look in the upper right hand corner, it says darken. Now I'm going to pick a value that's not as dark as this because I want to darken down this whole area without darkening this. So I am going to use my color picker. This is cool. It's like a Krita lesson for you as well. So that is Shift-Alt-K, and that is a blending mode. So with the blending mode to work, I'm going to make this big. And then if you see, I have the wrong brush. I want to make sure I get my airbrush. I still had my little blending mode there. Okay, little blending brush. So now I'm going to pick a tone lighter than this. And you see I can darken down without darkening the values that are darker than what I'm putting down. So what I'm able to do is do some halftones here and not disturb the work that you did before. And what we're going to, so that's what I want you to do basically. Darken down these values. Now we're going to get much darker as time goes on. I mean, you can see that, all the values are much, much darker. But you see there's a unifying feel to what we're doing now. Like I said, I can really get involved in some of these really details, but I'm going to refrain from that. And right now I'm just working. Now I'm going to reinforce. I'm going to go back to normal, which would be Alt-Shift-R. You see in the upper it turns back to normal. So let's go ahead and reinforce some of those darks. And you're still in the light mixture, so you're not getting too dark, but just dark enough to do some really good work. And I see you have the eye there, which is all good. I just want to And you know, notice I'm definitely not getting too detailed or too dark just yet. I'm going to stay away from my proclivity to want to go ahead and, you know, just like yourself, I too want to go ahead and hang out in the details, but I know that's counterproductive at this time. And just hit the K button, I can darken that value. But you can barely see his irises. It's not like something that is, you know, a real big detail. So we're not going to get too involved in something that we really can't see. But we can do some of the little subtle darknesses in the eye here on the under part of his eye. And then over here we have to fix the shape of his nose. So you see that it wasn't really having a concave, it's more of a convex shape, right? So just like that. So all these little things that we're doing are, you know, subtle changes, and just not thinking of the details, but thinking of it as a whole, right? That's what you want to do. You want to paint the whole and the ensemble. Remember what John Augusto Dominique Ingres said, my favorite artist in history? He always said that you want to paint the ensemble. You want to make it appear that the painting was done all in one breath. Now, the main reason why that does work is because we're seeing the relationships. We can see, okay, this is dark, that has to darken down, and we're darkening everything up together. So it's not like we are, you know, working on the eye and then we have no idea, you know, what the relative value is in his mouth or in the dark of his ear. All those different things you will definitely see as we bring it up together. If, like we saw, this area was just way too dark, that's because we're painting the ensemble and not just bits and pieces and then stitch them together in the end. That's not the way a fine artist does it. That's more of a commercial art approach. Okay, so right in here we're going to deepen this shape here. So it's a nice dark here. And notice I'm not zooming in too much, because if I zoomed in too much, and then I'm going to start painting the trees and not the forest. So we're still painting the forest, Phil. Let me make sure I'm recording, otherwise this is all for naught. So we are recording, so that's good. So this way, that would have been bad, right, sir? Okay, so let's continue. So yeah, we're going to continue with this dark shape here. Remember, you want to go very light at first and then just go dark as, you know, you can always do another layer and darken it, but to lighten it is a pain. So you definitely don't want to go too dark too early. Interesting shape here. Let's make sure we find this shape here. A lot of interesting shapes when you paint portraits, and they present themselves often, and so that's basically what you always want to be on a lookout for. See that? I misread that shape. So this comes out, and you have that shape down, so good job. before I get that shape, let's do the dark here. So he has nice nice smile, and his cheeks are nice and full. So let's go ahead and bring out some of his character. There we go. So you see that? So we're describing the larger shapes. And then that white shape here is just going to fall into place. So, you know, if you can't do the negative shape, do the positive shape. If you can't find the positive shape, do the negative shape. And then, you know, like a pincer movement, it'll fall into place. It's much better than just trying to wrestle with something you're just not seeing right away. For whatever reason, you just approach it differently, from a different angle. I guess that's painting as a whole, you know, what you can't handle from one angle, just come at it at a different angle. Like chess, you know, some players have an incredible defense on the queen side. You just attack on the king side, you know, or you just wait for them to make an error, and that's when you go ahead and you counter strike. So it's not only one way to deal with, you know, finding a shape. But I do see how you work that out there, right? So I'm going to take this same value, and right here on the tip of his nose, it's a little darker. And so we're going to find that not only in the positive shape, which we're doing now, but also in the negative shape, which we will handle. So let's make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to decrease my pressure. And I'm just going to sort of get an overall feel. I want to blend that out. So what I'm going to do is, so you can soften this up with the eraser. You see that? You can, so you definitely see how nice and blended out that is, and then just, so that's going to be a nice soft spot. We're going, it's pretty much one value, same thing over here, and then we can come in and deepen that up and, you know, look for different shapes. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do that. Now, I am guarding myself from going ahead and getting too detailed too early, so it really pays to have ADD at this point because you're not going to be fixated in one area. So that's the one time where it actually is beneficial for me to have ADD, because I am moving around, which is definitely within Angra's philosophy of painting, which I adhere to. So we're just going to work on this dark here and just, you know, get some of the, so we want to, okay, so we're painting this, but we still want the forms to be three-dimensional, right? You still want to paint in a sculptural way. Think of that Blender program, which I was like, wow, if I live to be 100, maybe I can start doing that now. Yeah, so I was thinking about, you know, just being a sculptural painter, you can really start seeing the forms and the lights and darks. So you're really recording things when it's very important to do so. There's a hard edge here. We're going to get to that later. I'm not going to get too involved too early. Over here, you'll see that, let's look at the two shapes here and sort of do that pincer movement there. See that? And then we could bring these together. And I'm going to lighten this value a little bit, and I'm going to make the brush bigger, and Okay, so let's get rid of what we did here. Okay, so right now this has to be much darker, and this whole area. But before I do that, let's just make sure we work on the three-dimensional qualities here. I'm going to increase my opacity. And I'm just looking for things that are going to describe what's happening as the light is hitting his form. Like I said, we're in the light mixture right now, so everything is really light. See, this is one big shape, and remember, you want to do the shapes, you want to do the value and the edges, and then the lights in the shape. But we're not going to do the lights in the shape just yet, because that you can see there's a lot of light in the shapes there. But we're gonna do that a little down the line. We just have to record these shapes first and make sure we're being sculptural as well. Remember, positive and negative shapes are really going to help you. Let's go ahead and blow this up. Tab. Okay, so I'm just going to pull out some of this negative shape here. And it comes out, down, and over. Positive shape. Comes all the way from the lip. See that? All the way. Comes out, goes down, over, connects with this sort of large area. Over here, we're going to darken up. Very soft. We're just going to, okay, so here I see a disparity, and I'm sure you see it as well. So here's his nose, and we have this angle correct, and we can see that the corner of his mouth does extend a little further. So that's something we're going to address. And then the space here, see how this space, let me see as far as where this corner of the mouth stops, pretty much right here. So that works out. So this is telling me what? That right here, we need to adjust. You might just have it fixed better than I, but I'm just letting you know that this is the type of decision making you have to do, and you have to have that, real critical eye to really see what's happening. So you see how this shape was so smaller than what we had. With all my years of experience, I don't trust myself, and you shouldn't. You should constantly do checks and balances, and and I think that's when we do work that is just really uncanny with a realism and getting the character. So the extra work does pay off, Phil. It does. Let me just darken this value here. And it is a deeper value. So now we're going to really increase the size of the brush. Now in the airbrush, of course, that means that you give a lot more distance. So, and then over here we could really work on this shape here. It's sort of like you're here, why not, right? You're already here, let's go ahead and make that happen. This shape goes right up into his teeth almost, goes right over to the lips. You see that? See how we can deepen this value and sort of extend this value all the way over. Deepen this value here. Let's extend this dark. Okay, and you see how there's volume here, that his cheeks are actually turning, even though they're in the shadow. Remember, things that are in the shadow, there are details, but they're whispers. Things that are in the light, they are shouts. So there's still shadow, lights, and darks happening. There's still form being modeled, but the values are very close to one another. That's no excuse. We still have to make sure that we are modeling the forms nonetheless. We just have to look harder. Okay, so now if we zoom out, so we see that, okay, things are looking better, right? They are having a little more of a three-dimensional form. As far as detail, not much more detail, but that's okay. That's not what we're after right now. We're modeling the form. So we're going to take this value, this light value that we have, and we're going to make our brush bigger, and we're going to be working on the large shapes here. Same thing over here, large shapes. And let's go ahead and see if we can just dust over everything. So you see that? You're not losing your darks, right? You're just lightly dusting from far away. But you see, we can't go into the lights until we get the overall value or local color value of what we're painting. So if you see here, all these values are so close together, yet before they were far apart, right? But now these values are like here, you know, they're, let me see if I could, well, no, I can't show you, but the values are very close to one another as opposed to having this disparity in this value range, okay? Let's darken just a bit by hitting the K button. And we're just going to hit the K button once again, make our brush a little smaller. That's why when you see oil painters, they're using big brushes in the beginning because they don't want to get too detailed. They want to basically paint the masses, and then, you know, once you have that solid three-dimensional form, and it looks like, you know, your subject from far away, then you got it. Now you just have to, you know, put the icing on the cake, so to speak. See, this is happening for a reason, and I want us to really start feeling, you know, what's that reason? Why? What's happening, you know, right here? Over here, slightly darker. Lots of hard work here, but you know, you're painting the simple shapes, and we're not getting too complex just yet. It's so important to make sure, okay, down here, so where are we neglecting, right? So you always want to look around, like, okay, where are we concentrating on? Have we spent too much time here? spent too much time there. So that's your question. So looking at this, I can say we are definitely neglecting his neck. So let's, we can get involved in all these really nice details and that would be fun, but we definitely have to address this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a darker value. First thing I want to do is make sure I'm really reinforcing the dark of his chin. We want that dark of his chin to come forward, right? So that's crucial. And so that's what we're going to do. And actually, let's get a big brush and go one tone lighter, and let's just give this a unified form shape here. But you see how when we unify the shapes, things are starting to come together. Things are starting to make sense because we are squinting our eyes almost. If you wear glasses, take your glasses off and you'll see the large shapes. And then the little shapes will reveal themselves after the larger shapes are taken care of and understood. Okay, so now we can go ahead and we could reinforce his chin. Because once we darken this down, it's like, aha, now we can go ahead and find this value. Same thing here. And all of a sudden, it's really, not getting too happy too soon, but it's starting to look like this gentleman, starting to feel his character and the joy in his face. And so that is, but that comes because, Okay, so see how we're going to look for some of those like real specific shapes here. Let's make this smaller and let's get this value a little darker. Now this is great because I'm helping you fill with airbrush, but it also is helping those who are working in Krita, and wanting to work in black and white. Large shapes, right? Large shapes. Shapes that describe the form, that make this gentleman three-dimensional, right? That's where we are. So you see we have this shape right here, comes down, it's a little bit darker, and then we have this shape right here, and that comes down like right here, and we'll just reinforce this. Like we say, this is not getting too specific too early. We are just really working the ensemble. And, this is not something that, I don't want you to go too far in front of me. I want you to wait for the next one after you get to this point, and then we'll just continue working on this together. After this is, we have this area here. See that? That's a detail I put in that didn't exist. So we're just going to get this lighter value. We're going to get rid of. So always have that critical analysis of your work, and almost like you're the student, right? And you're looking at your own work as if this is the work of your student. So you help your student by helping them to see, and the same thing when you're looking at your work, you want to really help yourself to really understand what's happening here. See that? That's too dark. It's almost like when you are, let's say you're getting dressed, right? And you have all these accessories, and you close your eyes, and you look in the mirror, and you open it. Whatever really stands out has to go. And that's when you're doing the painting process. When you see something just standing out, it has to go in the early stages. I mean, you have to de-emphasize that. Because let's say if I had you had some really dark darks here, and that just drew the whole equation off, because, we are working on the ensemble. Down the line, we can get so specific, but not just yet. Still, we want to make sure we're not we're not neglecting this area. So we're going to just describe what's happening with his collar. Just a little bit. And that's sort of going to be like an anchor point. Okay, so here you see right here we went a little too dark. So we're going to just take this and we're going to kill that. There we go. Just get rid of that dark there. You see that? That really helps. And let's get this nice light value. And remember, a light value is not going to show up unless there's a dark value next to it. There we go. And of course, you know, I want you to translate what I'm doing here in Krita into the airbrush. See, this value is much darker. And then we're going to lighten it up and sort of bring that value in. Whoa, went a little too. Don't get overzealous, Tim, right, Phil? And let's just pull this out. Okay, so before we go, this is a lot to process right now, but as you can see, it's generalization, softening up, getting the large shapes, not going too dark too early. Plenty of time to go dark. So I think I'm okay with, you know, what we went here. So let's quickly work on his hair, and we're just going to work on some of the dark here. Remember, big brushes, just like the oil painters in the beginning. They use those big filbert brushes, like the number 9 filbert brush or something like that. No number 3s or number 1s at this point. So you see that just a little bit here and there. We can lighten that up a little bit and come in with a lighter color. Yeah, we're going to have a good time when we go ahead and really lighten that up, right? So I hit the L button and you see things just lighten up. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and work on this shape here. So one big shape, hair and his head sort of come together. See that? Pay attention to what we see and not what we think we see. We would want to definitely differentiate the hair from his skin there, but in reality that's not happening. So there's a larger, lighter shape here. Just look at it as a shape. It doesn't have to, you're not doing hair, you're doing a shape. Same thing over here. We're just going to bring that in. But you see, we didn't neglect the hair. We definitely worked on the hair, and you know, it's all part of the ensemble. So we really can't, in good faith, you know, neglect that. This ear, as you can see, it's dark. So what I want to do is just dust over the ear here. Now we want to reiterate this dark here, because then I'm going to do an overall tone or dusting over his ear. That's a minor shape, so we're going to get rid of that. Now we're going to take this value here and we're going to hit Shift Alt K, And let me just make sure, hitting tab, we should see darker. That's not, I did not want to open Kindle. So let's hit tab. And okay, so I have to hit Shift Alt K. Let's see if that works. Yep, that's darkened. So what we want to do is we want to get a value slightly lighter than this. And we're just going to dust that ear. Not losing the detail we have, but just darkening. So I did send you the the blending modes hotkey, which is really important. So this is where we're going to be right now. Oh, before we go here, I want to show you one more thing. I'm going to hit tab. Now you see here, right here, case in point, where we want the value to be lighter, but in reality it's a lot closer than this value right here. So we'll go here. I'll hit the L button to lighten it up a little bit, and you see it's dark, but not as dark as that value right there. So I'm still in the darken mode, so as you see I can darken and not lose any detail. So as you can see, things are starting to look pretty good, and so I would say this is where we'll stop. And it's a quick little thing, so I want you to get to this point, and then we'll come in and start getting into some of the trees. But I think we're happy with basically painting the forest right now. And as you can see, we have a unified image, and it's starting to look like this gentleman, and it's really a nice groundwork to go forward. And that's what you want to do. It's like chess. We're setting up our pieces for the attack. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button if you are watching this on YouTube and you're not Phil. And because I'm going to be doing a lot more videos helping my students, but also teaching you guys how to work in Airbrush, my approach in Airbrush, and also how to work in Krita. So this is very cool. I hope you have a great day, and take care of yourselves.